Hello and welcome to another video, another beautiful day. This always seems to happen when I'm doing interviews like this because it seems to be like it's meant to be. It's meant that I'm meant to come here and do this. I'm a very nature loving person and I believe in energy and putting good things out to the world. Well, today I managed to get another meet up with someone, a local councillor called Andrew Dyer. And what a great man he is. He's from Green Party. He represents Daresbury, Sandymoor and more. Perfect for the interview we've just done. As you can see, this area here, look, another sign, all going to be built on, apart from that bit there. It makes you sick. And yeah, I tried to get as many of the questions that you posted to me as possible, but the problem is we had very little time, so I said what I could say. As you can see, more signs have gone up. If you want to show your support to this, then put your signs up too. Put anything up, put ribbons up, put anything up that you want to put on these gates to show solidarity for this cause. We want to stop the houses going on this patch of land in particular. This is what me and Mike were talking about. This is what me and Andrew were talking about. So here we are. Repeat after me. Enough's enough. And let's make this vision of our future a reality. If you like the video, please like it and share it so we get more people to know about this, because we met a few dog walkers who didn't know anything that was going on. So we need to keep this support going, and subscribe to it for more content about this and other things like creating and acting and stuff. But yeah, at the moment my main priority is this. So enjoy the interview. See you in a bit. So Andrew, hello.
Hello.
Hang on. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back on this beautiful day. Congratulations on being the first Green Party member for this area.
It's amazing. So I can't believe that after so many years of total Labour Party domination in Holton, with a splattering of Tories and Lib Dems, that it was able to get the one green dot on the map. But this is hopefully where it starts. That's where it started in other councils, where they're just one, and then
like
people see that it's not a wasted vote. It can make a difference, and then the Green Party candidates standing get more and more votes, and it kind of builds. So
indeed, I mean, I'm really proud of the fact that you're right on this spot. This the very spots, Daresbury, Sandymoor, Moor. You represent those people, don't you?
Yes, it's those three villages and parishes which make up the ward. And it's the greenest part of, so in one sense it was logical that if any part of the borough was going to go green, it would be the greenest part. Because it's the people that care most, the people that live here that care about maintaining it, protecting it, that you don't get in other parts where it's more built up.
Well, urbanised, like Holton Lee or stuff like that. I mean, I was going to ask you, are you surprised about the level of outcry that's happened here? But it's not surprising when you say it like that, is it?
It's not surprising at all. You really do. You see, people have just had enough. They know that land, they've moved into the area knowing that some of the land around them has been allocated for development, and they go, fair enough. As long as that development comes with some shops, a doctor's surgery, a dentist's practice, a pub, and things.
I think that's top of the list, isn't it?
But people think, well, if we're growing, then we're growing, and all of the facilities and the amenities will come with us.
Which it is, because the shop being built down there. There's a school now. My daughter goes to that one.
Yep.
What's going on with those what is it down there? That big tall building that's just gone up and it matches nothing.
It's an extra care facility.
So it's just a care facility. It's not apartments, or?
Well, it's apartment. It's a mixture of private and housing association stock that basically people will be able to buy, and there will be others that basically, if you. As I understand it, it's if you think you're approaching either through age or through health, that you feel the benefit of having someone available at the end of a pull cord to support you. You can buy one of those properties and then stay there and have that support network around you when you need it.
So it's not just affordable, because I read it was affordable housing. Maybe I just misread it.
No, there is some housing association content within the building, and there's also I understand there's a cafe, restaurant, and other facilities in there which will be available to the whole area, not just for residents. But yes, certainly as part of its construction, it's certainly appearing at the moment to be incredibly out of keeping with its surroundings.
I turned the corner. I knew it was happening because I could see a massive crane in the distance. I cycle home from work. And what the hell's that for, you know? Yeah. And then literally overnight it was dominating the sky. It's like building the Empire State Building in Sandymoor, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's the additional floor that people weren't necessarily expecting, and the pitched roofing, and it's the combination of a lot of things. And for the houses that were on the other side of the ride that are now facing out onto it, it's dramatically changed their landscape, and I feel so sad for those people and the
people who've lived there for, like you say, a long time, crossed away from that long path. Yep. Are crossing those older houses, and then suddenly we've got nothing to look at apart from this.
No, you say when you're buying a property in a new estate and there is a 4-storey block of flats that's going up, you can at least, when you're buying the property that you're buying, you can see that there's going to be a 4-storey block of flats opposite, and you can make an informed decision as to whether or not you want to buy or not. Those people haven't had that opportunity. They bought 20 plus years ago. It was one of the first phases of Sandymoor, and now this has gone up, and it was always intended to not be any more than, I believe, 3 stories, and then it was amended to be a 4-storey building at the last minute, so
it gives no one chance to do anything about it.
No, and it's as I say, it's a shame. So hopefully, once it's clad and with the brickwork and things around it, it will fit in a little bit more than what it currently is.
It's the size for me. It's just too blocky. It's just like a block,
and
isn't
it dominates the landscape. And there's no getting away from that.
And we got rid of castle fields, just all long rows of flats that looked awful. Yeah. And now they've knocked them down and replaced them with something a bit more suitable. Yeah. And it looks better. So it's the same with feel to me. Similar feel. Yeah. But look at all this area now. Imagine it just houses. What do you think?
It will just be so sad. The area is surrounded by such natural woodland, some of it ancient woodland, and green fields, and there needs to be some places that people can walk to and experience. We've already passed today a number of dog walkers who were very supportive of what we were trying to do. They're saying this is the last bit of green
space.
From
the newer part.
Yeah, but so this is the last bit of green space we got. Can they just leave it alone? So I can honestly see the way things are going. The only bit of green space left will be the village green as a square bit of greenery.
Well, they're trying to take that away as well, by the sounds of it. I think there's an application put in to build on the field, and I'm like, why? You've built enough. I mean, this area here. Like I say, agricultural at the moment, but do you want to put houses right here?
Yep.
So all this path we've just walked down is going to be basically traffic.
Yes.
But one question I wanted to bring up is about the bridges, which I just spoke to Mike about. Burrows Bridge, Delph Lane Bridge, Keckwick Hill Bridge. Yep. Are you concerned about what's going to happen to them? Are you petitioning for it to be listed, all of them?
Absolutely. They need to be protected. They're part of our history. Burrows Bridge it's one of the last ones with the working crane left and everything on it, and it is part of our history, and it needs to be protected. I understand that the latest plans have been adjusted, that there's going to be an additional bridge built just down the way from Burrows Bridge, and Burrows Bridge isn't going to be touched. But absolutely, we can't rely on...
But the sheer amount of people using the bridge, getting lost, going over it on delivery vans or doing stupid things on it, it's just going to go, isn't it?
And I've seen in Moor, the canal bridge in Moor, that's been hit by lorries.
Did you see the photo on, I don't know if on Facebook groups, and you've seen the photo of massive vans going across it? That's scary.
It's scary. People have looked into that though, and there is permission for that bridge to be used by over limit facilities and vehicles.
Who's crazy enough to put that through?
Because supposedly the farmland and things that are around there's no other route to them, and so dispensation's been given.
Well,
but
don't plan houses there then if you can't build them.
Exactly. And who's going to when an over limit van goes over there and it crumbles and the van falls into the canal, who's going to be responsible at that point?
No one.
But yes, but these bridges are being hit because obviously they're narrow, and these large vehicles have got large turning circles. They're damaging the brickwork, they're damaging the foundations because of the weight going over them, and they do need to be protected.
Definitely. So listing every single bridge is key.
They need, the local authority, the council, is working with Daresbury Heritage Group to identify areas that can be brought forward for an additional heritage value and protection. So I'll be working with those groups to see whether or not these bridges can be included in the scope of what they're looking at. But yeah, absolutely, we need to be protecting these, regardless of development. Those bridges need to be protected.
Absolutely. So I haven't seen a petition yet. Is there a petition active at the moment, or to list them, or where did people go to for that cause?
Not yet, not to my knowledge. If there isn't one, I'll be starting one.
Yeah, please do, because I've been looking for petitions. I mean, I'm not a big fan of petitions per se, because for me it all does is feed into the system, which is very much like, oh, we're opposed to this, I'm for it, and then it argues for a bit, and then suddenly a fake compromise comes in where, oh, we won't build 100 homes, we'll just build 80. Everyone's happy. No, I don't want any homes, thank you very much.
No, exactly. And I was at Sandymoor Parish Council recently when Homes England and some of their consultants were present.
Oh, really? Nice.
In the last couple of weeks, and they were describing all of the rigour that they'd gone through as part of understanding what was possible in this area. And yeah, it was crazy that that they felt that the waterways were sufficient for, despite Warford Farm being a key floodplain, that they've.
I mean, they've built that, haven't they? I mean, this is supposed to be an off.
Yep.
Shoot. I mean, it's going to be permanent probably soon with the way it's going, because all the water runs down into it. So I assume it's going to be fully full of water at some point. But I mean, they've planned it, but I don't know if that's enough. I don't think there's talk about global warming and the global agenda and to cut carbon and stuff. I think I read in the paper, I think where I saw your name, was that you were talking about how carbon's released and how it's processed with green belt, and we're building on it.
Yeah.
What's the point?
And the key for Warford Farm, the key thing is that they are going to be releasing, they're going to be storing this water that runs off, and will be feeding it into Cllr Brook. Cllr Brook is already massively deteriorated. It isn't being maintained. It's already flooding the underpass by the Daresbury Expressway, and the Environment Agency doesn't seem to be willing or able to cope with the demands on it to protect, and then we're looking to feed a whole load more water from this area into
it's
that
not going to work.
It's just not going to work.
My favourite spot where I go to meditate and think really is down there, and it's like a waterfall offshoot, and it's so tiny, and when a little bit of rain falls it goes like a torrent of water, and as you say, it goes down to where Manor Park is, and you can't get through, can you, with the flooding? So again, we're storing up problems for ourselves based on short-sighted.
And Homes England were quite keen to stress that once they brought forward the area and they've handed it over to developers, then the responsibility is off them and on the developers and on the Environment Agency.
Nice.
And the audience that had attended, because it was the best attended parish council meeting I've ever seen since being elected, because of the visitors. They were just like, no, you can't. You've got no skin in the game. You're going to bring forward this land. You're going to put forward outline planning permission. You're going to hand over to developers with with contractual obligations which don't mean anything in the real world, and then they disappear off, and it's the residents that are left picking up the pieces when no one else supports them.
And like your party in particular, it's all about conserving your environment, working with the environment to build a better world, isn't it, really? And you must be tearing your hair out of all this.
Absolutely. So although this land isn't greenbelt, and Holton's greenbelt has massively reduced, as you were discussing with Mike, in your interview, this isn't greenbelt, but this is greenfield. And when you've got the likes of, as Mike was saying, when you've got the likes of Holton Lee, when you've got derelict buildings that need tearing down, need the sites clearing, and they need housing and facilities bringing forward there, that's a bit hard. That's a bit expensive. It's much easier for a developer to turn up with a digger and to break ground on a green field than it is one of those.
Looking at one right now.
Yeah.
It's so awful to look at. I mean, what do you think of the whole issue of, because there was a stat I was sent saying that a lot of the Warrington Council are going to gain more in terms of revenue from this, because it's classed as, even though it's classed as Holton, it's been marketed as Warrington and made more costly, more expensive to buy. And what do you think of that?
I think, as you and Mike discussed the other day, said a lot of it is creative marketing, but obviously, ultimately, if properties within the boundaries of Holton Council, then the council tax and all of the income from that will go to Holton Council. But yes, it's crazy how being able to apply a Warrington postcode or something to it can then inflate the asking price of property by 5-10%, and the like, and it's quite cynical.
It is cynical when you're losing something and it's not really gaining for the local community. It's losing.
I don't see what houses here being built here will add to the existing Sandymoor.
Well, especially if it's not affordable. I mean, there's a questionnaire I was sent. How much of the S106 money has been allocated towards affordable housing? So I don't know what that means. So can you explain that?
Not really, it's a law to itself. But there is this premise that's in there, which then dictates whether or not land has to be, whether or not any of a development has to contain affordable housing or not. Sandymoor South, because of its historic entries, doesn't have to have any affordable housing contained in it. The Warford Farm development has to, but because it's not covered by the same requirements. But even so, as you discussed with Mike, what somebody deems affordable is only 80% below market rates. But a young family wanting to move out of Old Town or Holton Brook and move out to be surrounded by what's left of green space might still yet struggle to agree that a 3 or 4 bedroom detached house in this area would be affordable. So as much as it might be aspirational, whether or not it's affordable is...
As you said, 300k is not affordable. 900k is even more not affordable. But even in my area, 150k for an average property in my area, still sort of on the cusp of not being affordable. But I'm private renting, so what can you say about that? So Red Row building, is Red Row responsible for building on this patch?
No, Red Row is the Daresbury build.
So that's them on the top. So they're bringing forward
countless phases of development around Delph Lane, which will bring forward supposedly numbers of houses, more shops. They're promising a GP surgery and a dentist practice, and shops and even a train station.
Choo-choo! Nice.
They're looking to construct over there, but again, the residents obviously representing Sandymoor, Daresbury and more. As part of the election, when I was walking door to door in Daresbury, people were inviting me to as I was putting leaflets through, to engage with them and talk with them as to what I felt about the green space that they were overlooking, and it disappearing, and their concerns
Well,
about...
more in particular, like I said to Mike, it's been swallowed up on all sides, isn't it?
Yep, everything's... So the whole point behind the green belt and green space was to provide a clear designation between one village and the next, and to prevent this urban sprawl, and the fact we could be seeing, you're now leaving Moor, you're now entering Daresbury within 50 yards of each other.
Yeah, just the sign and that's it.
And it's just like, really? I blinked and missed that. And it's sad. We do need to, throughout Moor, throughout Daresbury, there's signs up saying protect our green belt, protect our green space.
Yeah. And there'll be more by tomorrow, believe me. I'm putting them everywhere.
And it's so in one sense it wasn't surprising that, as going back to your initial point, that I managed to get a small foothold. I managed to just push out the third Conservative candidate for this ward, so that it wasn't a complete Conservative block out, and to have a green voice.
Yeah, we need more of it, for sure.
Yeah, opposing development, being as much as, in one sense, practical terms, what can one person realistically do against an entire machine? But it is that. It's that, I put it on my leaflet at the time, it's the voice, it's the one voice in the room, it's the one dissenting voice, it's the one opposition vote that just starts to make people think, are we actually doing the right thing?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's really surprised me, well, not really surprised me, are we still in frame, by the way? We seem to be moving further away. Don't know how, we haven't moved. But maybe the ground's solving. But anyway, one thing I've found is that there's more support than you realise. It's just people need to speak out, they need to get active more, and that's what Mike said, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are resigned to everything happening now.
Oh, I know. Nearly I was, to be fair.
And people are like, what can we do? It's going to happen. The developers hold all the money talks, blah blah blah, and it's going to happen. We can huff and puff, we can send our opposition into the consultation, we can oppose any outline planning permission when it's brought forward, but will it actually stop anything from happening? Are we just going to... the key message that I took away from the Sandymoor Parish Council when the Homes England representative was talking was that they said that they'd received a large number of just blanket opposition to the development, but they kind of like pushed them to one side. It was like, well, that's not going to happen. So how about we look at all these other ones where we're just talking about considerate constructors and access roads and drainage and flood risks. And
when Homes England put out a reply saying we're committed to biodiversity and working with Greenbelt and green space and making great, well, I'm going to swear then. Don't bloody come round here then and dig up the green belt that you're saying you're going to protect.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was one of those. It was just like, really, are you really saying that? And that's what people hear. That's what people feel. They feel as if their feedback on consultations and on planning permission can only tweak and reduce it from 850 homes to 820,
like what I was saying before.
or and things like this. So they're like, oh, they might be able to retain a hedgerow that was going to be removed previously, and it's those kind of things. And it's crazy that.
And I'm assuming you're like me and Mike. You want this completely stopped.
Yeah, absolutely. I want this land. My point is that at some point in 2005, this land was designated in some plan as for housing to be brought forward at some point. But plans change. And for me, someone needs to be forced to stop and think and say, does this potential use of this land still make sense some 16, 17 years later? Is there
appropriate?
Is it appropriate?
Yeah.
I'm sure that the vast number of Sandymoor residents and people living by would much rather this land be protected, be converted to a country park, be maintained by park rangers.
You know where we walked across there? Sorry to interrupt, but that part where you parked your car, you came walking, that all patched there. I was saying to you before, why not just stop where you are with the houses? That open space could be used for community activities, open space, and then it opens up onto green space.
Absolutely.
That's wildlife. You've got bats around here.
Yep.
There's someone's quoted to me the other day that people have been ignoring bat studies and to get these things through. What are you concerned about the wildlife affected?
Absolutely.
Obviously, Green Party you are, but silly question. But I mean, it seems that no matter what we say, like badgers, foxes, they're all going to be displaced by this, and no one seems to care.
No. And it feels as though unless there is a particularly endangered species that can be dug up from somewhere...
Well, the bats are protected by law, aren't they?
To be honest, I don't know.
Well, I know that if you find a nest of bats somewhere, there's no way you're moving them. So when there's bats everywhere, I see them all the time.
Yes, and I know that, to say, and as I was saying to you before we started, I've lived in Sandymoor for 9 years. I've moved into a new property that was built by the school on previous, I think it was a potato farmland, I think, historically.
Do you like potatoes?
Sure. But we've bought, so absolutely, and like Mike was saying, I'm not anti-housing, so appreciate that the population's growing.
It's become a slur, that though, hasn't it?
So you can, if you are opposing a housing development, either you're not in my backyard person or you're just anti all kinds of progress and development. It's just like, no, absolutely not. It couldn't be further from the truth. But when we moved into our house, there was still further phases of that development going on,
which I've been following myself.
And we had, for the first 2 or 3 months of living in our house, we had, in an evening, we had bats circling in our back garden, where quite clearly they'd been disturbed and displaced from the development, and were circling around. But as the development continued, the bats disappeared. And so it's absolutely something that needs to be looked into. And any and every potential reason to oppose the development needs to be looked into. But fundamentally, we just need to protect some of the green space that we've got left. And this isn't a not in my backyard category.
It can come across like that to some people, because there's some comments I get. It's like, well, we need houses with the population increase, and I'm not suggesting that. But other towns, there's places all around the country you can build a whole new town in a spot isolated. Why are we tacking on more houses onto an infrastructure that's already crumbling? Runcorn is struggling to get investment, to get anything moving, and yet we're getting more people and more houses.
And obviously we've got this £23 million grant for the old town and the station quarter.
It looks pretty, but then people pass Runcorn station and go to another town, don't they?
It's so much. Runcorn as a town and Holton as a borough is just crying out for investment, regeneration. Its train services need to be improved, its bus services need to be improved.
That was one thing I was going to bring up, because obviously they're tacking up all these, thanks for reminding me, they're tacking on all these new houses. But have you been to Runcorn East on a train?
Yes.
2 carriages when it's full capacity, and why are they doing this?
No, it's absolutely crazy. And yes, you can get I previously commuted into Manchester city centre from Runcorn East, and so as soon as you get past Fodsham, you're packed in like sardines. And you're going, why isn't there an extra carriage or two?
They always seem to put 4 on when it's 7 o'clock in the evening when no one's travelling. And it drives me nuts. But I saw something in the paper this morning which really surprised me. It says government proposals which takes away local residents' rights to object to local planning permission if it's in a red zone for development. That was in the paper this morning.
Yeah, so it is.
That's shocking, isn't it?
It is shocking. Although due to some, not that I'm a cynic, but due to some Tory heartland backlash on proposed planning reforms, the Boris and the like are supposedly taking another look at this, but only because of their own pushback in their own.
Yeah, so it's in their backyard, isn't it? It's funny that, isn't it?
And so, I'll take any minor victory where we can. And so, even if it's not for the right reasons, if it benefits us up north, then absolutely. But no, having the opportunity to have your voice heard, and as a serious voice around the table is fundamental, and there isn't enough resident voice
I totally agree.
when development is being brought forward, whether or not it's infrastructure, roads, rail, housing.
I mean, you must get inundated with people like me moaning at you to talk to them or write to you and stuff. I mean, are you getting overwhelmed by this now, or how's your job going when it comes to that? Because it seems pretty rough.
Yeah, I'm getting either directly or getting copied into a lot of correspondence that's going into the consultation and going to Mike. The people are quite passionate.
Why is it only you and Mike? Because everyone else seems to be very quiet on the issue.
That's true, but I have reached out this morning to my neighbouring wards councillors in Norton North and Norton South.
I can't believe they're not actively involved themselves, really, because it's on their patch too.
Well, the access to, because that's the crazy thing, the access to this will be from their patch.
Yeah.
So even though the building is technically designated Sandymoor, it won't be accessed. Warford Farm won't be accessed via Sandymoor, it would be accessed from Murdershaw.
Well, a lot of the residents over there, Marina Village,
yes,
that the anger that they're showing now.
And a number of those residents were at Sandymoor Parish Council meeting
Really?
with Homes England there.
Okay.
But only because they'd heard about it on social media, because obviously they're not part of the consultation, because it's not.
Well, I only know about it because I've lived in Norton Village for 13 years now, and I come down here to, as I say, meditate, be with the animals and stuff, and I see signs popping up everywhere, and I'm like, why are you doing it there for? That wasn't there before. Yeah. And then as time's gone on, you've seen, like, on the top of the hill, you go up to the top there, you know, homes, and you start realising how slowly but surely it's like an invading army of houses creeping in on that. Yeah. And no one seems to know until it's too late. Is it too late?
No, it can't be too late. And
nothing's set in stone, like Mike said.
Nothing's set in stone, and not for this and not for anything. So basically, even if we were to save one tree, save one bridge, then basically it's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
So absolutely, it's not too late. And for this consultation is just the first part. That yes, they've extended the consultation due to the wealth of.
The over 600 letters that Mike's received alone. I imagine you've had some too.
I've had some
and the support I've had, and the group that Kelly put on Facebook, what she's had, it's getting a lot of attention, and people are starting to realise and wake up. Thank God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I often say that on your own, going out banging a drum, it's not going to get you in here, but get enough people and public perception changes.
Exactly.
It changes everything.
And that's why I'm reaching out to the neighbouring wards and saying, in case you're not aware that this is happening and it's going to impact you, the traffic in your key, they've done some assessments that Murdershaw at rush hour is gridlocked already, but supposedly the road network can cope with another 1,500 cars.
Sounds like someone's been fudging a little bit.
So I've reached out to them and said, following my meeting with Mike, and said anything that, so I'm going to get a petition together, not just for the bridge, but for this. And yes, petitions are a useful tool.
They're useful but then what I find is that they sort of dissipate once someone signed it. It's them going, I've done my bit.
Yeah.
But for me, that bit's not enough anymore. We need to be act like we're doing now. We're stood here.
Yeah.
Get out and form a group of people who are like-minded. Like, we've just seen two people walking past, and they're like, oh, we'll support you.
Yes.
Sounded a bit like Boris then, didn't they? So what I want to organise is some group sessions out here. Sounds a bit weird, but group sessions, photo ops. What essentially are you doing as a councillor to support this cause, and what else can we do as local residents?
At the moment, I'm obviously reaching out to my fellow councillors. I'm being as high profile as I can on social media and stuff.
Well, I saw your article, you got my attention.
And obviously it's good that I'm being followed by Runcorn and Witness World and independent writers on there. So when I'm posting things on Facebook, it's being picked up and it's then making the papers, which is then reaching more people. So I'm just trying to raise awareness of this and to try to dissipate any reticence from people
Thanks, Northern.
Any reticence from local residents that basically that it's not worth it. That basically
they're powerless.
They're powerless. Nothing to do.
Apathy sets in because Holton Council tends to be. I get frustrated because I always see Holton Council as reactionists who go, "Oh, we'll leave that. Well, we'll do that later, or we'll tear that down. We'll do something else." I'm like, look after what you've got.
Yeah. So I'm trying to raise awareness and try to make people feel empowered. That basically, if they do feel strongly about this, then they should speak out. They should reach out. They should join these Facebook groups. They should organise and mobilise. And I want to be as prominent as I can be in those groups to spearhead with Mike. This being
this is the main concern right now for Mike in particular. But for me, I tend to everything that they've done so far, I want to stop. I want to stop there. I don't want us to go any further forward to the canal because the one thing that really upsets me is that there's a lot of bungalows along the canal that older people have moved into because they want the countryside on the opposite side.
And a bit of peace and quiet, they deserve that.
And what's going to go there instead? Houses and flats. And noise.
Yeah.
So
3-storey blocks of flats along the canal.
And I've heard a shop as well, or a cafe or something on that plot.
Yep.
Play area.
Yep.
All in a nice area. Don't get me angry. So I'm going to finish up now. So, how do people write to you? Social media, write to you physically.
Absolutely.
By pen and go to Green Party.
So I'm on Facebook. I've got my page there. People are able to and are reaching out to me via that. I'm on email. My council email address is on the Holton website, andrew.dyer@holton.gov.uk, and people can write to me if they've got concerns. But ultimately, writing to me is just one part of the jigsaw. They need to be writing to the consultation and making
be harassing Homes England, whoever else is in development, not just Mike. Poor you and Mike with all these letters, but actually physically get out here, put your posters up, go knocking door to door, talk to dog walkers who are passing you randomly.
Yeah, absolutely, and we do need to say I've opposed the phase 2 of the Cllr development. It just feels as though, although that's now been given planning permission as a fait accompli, and it's frustrating. It's just like just as one voice within a council of 50 plus councillors can get quite easily drowned out.
Yes. Like Lieswood residents too.
Yes, absolutely. But collectively, we've got a much stronger and louder voice than we have individually.
Yeah,
and knowing that there's so much groundswell behind this, it gives me more confidence. Going into those meetings, going into those phone calls, sending those emails to people, posting those social media messages, saying that no, this needs to stop. We need to pause, and we need Holton to look at all available development opportunities and ensure that all brownfield sites are used before a single bit of grassland is dug up, and make sure that any future development that is brought forward, that the infrastructure for flooding and for the brooks and the things like this is remediated, repaired and in sufficient condition to cope with the development before they even break ground. And the houses that are built are low carbon, sustainable and accessible to people that want to afford them.
And like I said, you used the word before, appropriate, but also knowing when to stop. Because like the tagline, enough's enough. Because this is enough. Up to where we are, that's enough. We've done our bit for King and Country. Time to move on. Let's enjoy it now.
Yeah, Sandymoor's grown for the last 20-25 years now. From
town in its own right now, isn't it?
It's huge, so people just need to stop looking straight to, we need to build some more houses. What more green space have we got around Sandymoor that we can build on? They need to be a little bit more creative.
Definitely.
And not looking for the easy, quick win.
And if we're tackling climate change too, and making sure that we're sustainable, this needs to be sustainable too.
And the Liverpool City region, which Holton Borough Council was part of, have declared a climate emergency. But yeah, they're
doing this.
Yeah,
indeed. But anyway, I'm going to let you go because I know time's short.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming down. Write to him, write to me, and let's keep enjoying this. No houses. See you in a bit.
Thank you.